American style sausage rolls. These are great for any party or gathering. You will need bread flour. Yes, you could use standard all-purpose flour, but bread flour is going to give you a little bit more substance. It's going to have a better texture for this application. You'll want whole milk, sugar. You'll need 5 tablespoons of butter. You'll need 4 eggs. Now, very important, we're going to divide these 2 eggs. Only 2 eggs will go into the dough. 2 eggs will be for a wash that will give that dough that shiny, lovely bakery look. You'll need 2 packets of the 7-gram fast-rising yeast, a teaspoon of salt, and you'll want at least 16 of these sausages or beef franks. I recommend that since we're saving money on the dough, if you were previously one of those people who would spend for the Pillsbury Crescent dough, go ahead and get the good Sabrett's or Nathan's sausages. And then everything bagel seasoning. Technically optional, that part, but it's going to make a big difference. All right, so let's heat 1 cup of milk. It doesn't need to be boiling, just needs to be warm enough to dissolve 1/3 of a cup of sugar. Don't worry, this is not going to be a sweet dough. That sugar mostly helps just to make the dough soft. And once that has reached the temperature that would be suitable for a baby's bathwater, we don't want it too hot because it would kill our yeast. We'll put in both of those packets of yeast. We'll mix that and we'll set it aside. Next, I'm all about convenience. If I only used one of these paper bowls, it would kind of be too flimsy, it would fall apart, so I'm using 2. My 5 tablespoons of butter are here. Now, I didn't heat it up all the way in the microwave because the residual heat will melt whatever didn't get melted when I nuked it for like maybe 30 seconds, 35. This is preferable to overheating it because I'm going to need to mix something else in there in a moment. All right, now I have my KitchenAid mixer bowl. In goes 4 cups of bread flour, my 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of sugar. I know it does sound like a lot of sugar. I promise you, these do not taste sweet. Now, once our butter has cooled almost completely to room temperature, we don't want to cook the eggs. We will add only 2 of our 4 eggs here. You don't have to be so precious about it. We don't need it completely mixed. We just need those egg yolks to be broken up and the whites to be a little broken up. All right, so as you can see, a few minutes has passed by and our yeast has foamed and proofed very nicely. We will now make a little bit of a well in the center of our flour mix. And we'll add all of our yeast milk and all of our egg butter to the center. For this, we will want the dough hook. And it will take about 7 minutes on the lowest speed for my KitchenAid to mix this. I usually like to stop the mixer when I have to mix for such long amounts of time. I never know for sure what the motor can handle on my mixer. I don't want to take chances. It's also not bad at all for the dough. Sometimes I think it's better when the dough gets 2 or 3 minutes to rest halfway through the kneading process. Now, if you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, that is just fine. You still can do this by hand, but yes, it is going to be quite a bit more work. Whether you hand knead this or knead this in a kitchen mixer, you'll still want to reserve a handful of that bread flour just to make it workable at the very end. You may need to add that. And I did need to. It was probably less than a quarter cup. I added at the last, I'll say 45 seconds. All right, and I did forget to mention this. I apologize. You'll probably want to use some oil. I'm using a canola oil there. I sprayed down a bowl. Now, of course, if you really want to limit the number of things that you're using, you could just turn that dough out onto your kitchen counter, wash and dry and oil the same bowl that you mix this dough in, and put the dough back in there and cover that bowl. Now, you could technically skip this step, but please don't. First, boil your sausages and then remove the water and let them pan fry a little bit with a little tiny, tiny spray of oil. That will keep them juicy inside from the boiling, and then just a little bit of pan fry will blister them on the outside. It'll give a little snap, crunch to the outer texture, and they will taste better. In my opinion, that little bit of extra effort is worth it. All right, it took our dough about 1 hour to proof. And I have came cleanly out of the bowl. I'm turning this onto that pre-cut parchment paper. You get like a bunch of sheets at the dollar store. We'll cut the dough in half, and then each of those halves in half, and then each of those quarters will get cut into quarters for a total of 16 pieces, or 16 sausages. Each of those gets rolled into a rope, and we're shooting to wrap each sausage about 2.5 to 3 times. We do want to leave the ends, the sides exposed for 2 reasons. As the dough expands, as it expands one more time, it'll start to cover those sides. And also, as people eat this at our gathering, I want them to be able to see what it is that they're eating. If the dough covers it too much, it might just look like bread rolls. All right, so we have covered all of our sausages in the dough. We'll again cover these, and it's going to take about 30 minutes for their second rise. This is a perfect time to go ahead and turn on our oven and set it to 350 degrees. We can use that same bowl that we used for the butter for our 2 remaining eggs. We're going to beat those very well. Just add a tiny, tiny sprinkle of water, and this is going to be our egg wash. Here's where our everything bagel seasoning will come in. So I've covered each roll with a good amount of egg wash. It's going to give it that lovely bakery sheen, and it'll also help these everything bagel seasoning seeds to stick. Bagel seasoning typically has a little bit of garlic flakes, onion flakes, and a little salt. If you don't use that, I recommend you do sprinkle a little bit of salt on the top. So these had to bake at 350 for 20 minutes. Check your oven. Sometimes you'll find they're out faster and closer to like 15 minutes. There's just no competition. These look and taste so much better than the so-called pigs in a blanket that are made with the canned Pillsbury crescent roll dough. That stuff uses palm oil because these companies are trying to save pennies no matter what, at the risk of everything: taste, your health. Palm oil is terribly artery hardening. If you have a KitchenAid mixer, most of the work is done for you. So please try this. If you don't have one already, let everybody know. That's your Christmas gift. That's your birthday gift. Have a look on Facebook Marketplace. See if you can find one. Maybe at a charity shop. Another day, I will post a video showing how to make English pub-style sausage rolls, which are very, very good, but different. Very good in their own right. Take care.